Good evening, one and all. I welcome all of you on the sixth day of this mega event on research methodology, art of writing research paper and thesis. I'm quite sure that you all are enjoying each session and gaining knowledge along with. On behalf of Inspira Research Association and Sheila Raheja College, Mumbai, I welcome our today's eminent speaker, Dr. Meghna Chabra. Dr. Meghna Chabra is an associate professor, entrepreneurship and finance, and area chair, entrepreneurship and small business management, Faculty of Management Studies, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies. Dr. Chabra has been running the E-Cell at FMS and has been closely involved in the students' training and placement activities. With over 12 years of experience in industry and academia, Dr. Meghna also has various publications in national and international journals. She has also conducted Department of Science and Technology sponsored entrepreneurship awareness camps. Her research interest lies primarily in studying the gender gap in entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship education. And currently, she is also working on an Indian Council of Social Science and Research project on capacity building of women entrepreneurs, and is a recipient of faculty grant for conducting faculty development program in entrepreneurship development from All India Council of Technical Education. She is on the editorial board of many reputed journals and is also an editor with CRC Press, Taylor and Francis USA. Dr. Meghna also holds international patents and takes sessions on creativity and design thinking as an expert across various institutions pan-India. It's our pleasure to have Dr. Meghna with us today as a resource person. I welcome you, ma'am, once again, and I would request you to please take the charge.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi Modi ji, for such a warm introduction. It's always an honor to be introduced such nicely. And I don't know we deserve all these accolades or not, but yes, like all others he present here, we are all striving towards achieving our best possible fortes in the field of research. Okay, so tell me, should we conduct the session entirely in English or should we use mixed languages? Drop of hint would be good for me, sir.
Actually, because we have the participants from South also, so English will be,
the best thing, right? Yeah, because I am seeing lots of
lots of, actually we have all over India, so
yes, absolutely. So it's always better to have a hands-on information on this thing, because it is because this session we conducting so that everybody benefits the maximum.
Yeah.
So we are always ready to customize based on the needs and requirements. Okay.
Yeah.
So good evening, dear participants, and it's an honor for me to be with you today evening. And thank you for hosting me, Dr. Ravi Modi ji, Dr. S. Modi ji. And it's a privilege. And the topic which has given to me is very relevant these days. It's a state-of-the-art topic, writing of research proposals, research reports, and research projects. So this is indeed a very relevant thing now, because as academicians, we not only strive to publish papers in the top international journals, but it is also our endeavor to keep on doing research projects and which have an impact on the society, where we think we can contribute as academicians, because as academicians we are the think tank. So any new problem which comes up or any existing problem that is there, definitely the policymakers expect us to solve these problems. So I'll definitely try my best to throw as much insights as possible in this presentation of mine, which is on research proposals and research projects. So I'll just share my PPT here. Okay, so Artiji, is my PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's visible.
It's visible. And audio quality is good enough?
Yes, ma'am. Everything is good, ma'am. No problem.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's now start with the formal session now on how to, just a second, on writing up of research proposals, research projects, and research reports. Now, for whom do I write a research project for? That is the first question which comes to everybody's mind. So definitely there has to be a call for proposals. It is not that, out of the blue, you write a research proposal and you submit it to a grant agency and they will give you a grant. That never happens. These research projects, there is always a specific date under which these calls are made. And most of the times, these type of call for proposals, in my experience, I have seen, they are done mostly on an annual basis. Few examples of funding agencies in India are Indian Council of Social Science and Research, for those of you who are into social science. So in social science, we have all the faculties who are working under the management and the commerce streams. And then we have the Department of Science and Technology, which gives a call for proposals specifically under science streams, that's physics, chemistry, mathematics, and various applied sciences also. And then we have All India Council of Technical Education. There also, they give a call for proposals. One very popular scheme of AICT is RPS, which is the Research Promotion Scheme, under which maximum grant is given of rupees 25 lakhs, and the research project duration is for 3 years. Under ICSSR, currently, they are working on the IMPRESS scheme, under which I am also working in a project. So I received a major research project from them, and the grant money is 10 lakhs. So anything above 3 lakhs becomes a major research project. Otherwise, it is always called as a minor research project. And normally, the tenure of these research projects is minimum 2 years and maximum 3 years. So time is never a problem because the policymakers have this empathetic attitude towards the roles and other roles and responsibilities which the faculties handle. And they understand that any research project cannot be completed within a span of few months because the faculty who will be engaged in that research project will not only be doing that research project, but that will be something extra they will be doing besides the roles and responsibilities of teaching, administrative, and various other responsibilities, which we all do handle in our day-to-day routine responsibilities and the institutions where we work. So that's why they give a tenure of minimum 2 years and maximum 3 years, depending upon the type of the project. There is also a big provision of staff, hiring staff, which is the key factor under these research proposals, because the staff which is hired for the project, if we are fortunate and if you are really alert in hiring good people, they can actually carry the research project forward in a very effective and efficient manner. And the tangible outcomes they expect from you in the research proposals is not only in the form of a research project, but also a very important factor which they look up to is that where you have published the research papers based on the research work you did under that project. I'm highlighting this factor again. This is a very important parameter for them because they are also looking for kind of a branding for themselves. Because when you actually publish a paper in a top-notch international journal, you will acknowledge the support of the funding agency which gave you the funds to do that study. So that acknowledgement in the global platforms, on the global platforms, is very significant and important for them. So of late, I have been fortunate to publish a research paper based on my current project in a very good journal, which is an A category journal, which is of Emerald Publishing. And once you have achieved these milestones in your research project, you can be quite sure that based on these tangible outcomes, next time you apply, you can apply for a higher level of money, higher amount of money, and maybe a more challenging project, because here you have tangibly proved yourself. Okay, so this is about few facts I wanted to highlight before we start on understanding the various parts on how to write a project. So this basis of what I have given you will definitely help you in relating it better to what kind of projects you are applying for and what kind of funded agencies you are. So these are the few agencies, to name a few, like ICSSR, AICT, DST. Besides that, there are projects, even one of my colleague, she's doing a project from UNICEF also. Even United Nations gives projects, but then these are very, very different kind of projects, especially related to, poverty upliftment or some development of a backward areas. So sometimes the project director has to relocate themselves to undertake that kind of a project. So for continuation of your academic roles and then doing a research project, then there are a different set of projects. Then some private agencies also from time to time give the call for proposals. So first and important thing is to keep a tab on when the call for proposals come. And normally, as I've highlighted earlier, it is done on an annual basis. So if suppose you saw the call on in the month of February 2021, it's important that you create an alert in your Google and you keep a tab on when the next call comes, because in the most likelihood it will come after exactly 1 year. The calls are repeated, and most of the times the formats under which the proposals are to be given are also the same. They do not change most of the times. So currently, for example, if I give you a current example, AICT has given a call for proposals where they are inviting calls where you can write up proposals for but first thing first, you have to be AICT approved for that. Yes, so this is a very important point I need to highlight before we begin the session, that the necessary approvals are very, very important, because they only decide whether you are eligible to apply for these projects or not. Okay, so for example, for UGC and ICSSR project, having 12B status of UGC is not important, I would say. It is mandatory. If you do not have 12B status, then you will not be able to get any research grant from UGC or ICSSR. And most of the government organizations have automatically got 12B. So it's the private sector where this question rises the most. So before you start writing a proposal and start following a particular call for proposal, please reach the office, the admin office, the office of the registrar maybe, and inquire about the eligibility criteria. Because without that, all your hard work will go down the drain, because they will not even consider the application. For AICT also, you have to be an AICT approved department. For example, if you have a university, normally I have seen that in university, sometimes not all courses are AICT approved. For example, in my university, we are running postgraduate courses and we are also running undergraduate courses in MBA and BBA BCom. So our MBA department is AICT approved. So we then become eligible to apply for these kind of project grants. So because AICT then automatically generates a faculty ID for all those institutes or departments which are registered under them. So this eligibility is the first criteria which you have to check. Okay, so research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. This comes as a precursor to creating a research proposal, because we do not follow a routine and mundane approach while creating the research proposal. Do not ever try to do the obvious. Do not try to search, which is something which is already being searched a lot, but you have to try to do something out of the box. Out of the box in the sense that it is different, it is unique, but at the same time, it is relevant. It is relevant to the policymakers, it is relevant to the society, and it should be relevant to the economy. Because the first question is, why should I give you money to do this study? What is the reason I should fund your project? You are asking me 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, 15 lakh rupees for doing a particular study. So there has to be a proper justification, a proper rationale to explaining why you want to conduct that study. So it has to be definitely something which is very unique and very out of the box. So now coming to the first part. So there are 2 parts under which I have divided the presentation. What is developing a research proposal, and second is writing a research project. And as I was going through the itinerary of the FGP, I saw that on the previous day, that is yesterday, 15 July, you had a session on writing high quality research papers and thesis. So definitely you must have seen the format which a research paper or thesis has to follow. So some of the parts of the PPT might seem to you like a repetition, but they are relevant here because they are also connected to developing a research proposal. So first question, what is a research proposal? So as I have highlighted earlier, these are the proposals which are solicited. You cannot submit a research proposal entirely on your own, meaning that they are submitted in response to a request with specified requirements, such as a request for proposal, and they have to be, but most important point you have to take care is that most of the times when the call for proposals come, the time limit which is given to submit these proposals is very, very less. Please highlight these sentences that you cannot afford to write a research proposal only within that time duration which is given to you, because a proposal which is prepared in a very short duration of a period of 1 or 2 months will never be able to reach a high quality, because in 1 or 2 months you can afford only to just write it, and you would not be able to revisit it and to get it vetted by experts, and the chances of then getting it accepted becomes very, very bleak until unless you are a very high level hands-on researcher with an ultimate level of expertise. Because what happens in these proposals is that most of the time when you create a proposal, you keep a tab. For example, I see a project, saw a call on ICSSR on some Indo-Japan projects or some India-South Africa projects. So these are the call where they encourage you to align with some international collaborator. So you are one collaborator who will do it from here. And then there will be another collaborator who's a Japanese professor, and he will work from there on the same project. He will keep visiting India. You might go and visit Japan. So that kind of projects are also made available by various funding agencies. So these days, the government is trying to, expand its global outreach. And in that effort, multi-country proposals have become very, very popular. Because knowledge generated, because in research we all have experience at some point or the other that collaboration is the key word. One single brain working on a particular project, a particular paper, a particular proposal, how far you can go. So if I sit down to write a research paper only on my own, that only I will be the author in that, fine, that happens with all of us at certain times, at certain points. We are sole authors of some papers. But if you really want to increase the impact, the number of citations, the number of publications, then the key word is collaborate. So when we collaborate, we bring people into the team. When we bring more people into the team, that means the number of brains being used in that study have increased. The brainstorming option is there. You can have higher level of ideas. You can improvise the quality of the work. When you divide the work judiciously, you can each concentrate on your own area of expertise. Because some people I have seen, they are very good in writing part. Their English, their proofreading abilities are very good. Some people are very good in the literature review part because they are digger for theories. Because in top quality research papers, especially if you see those being published in Scopus ABDC journals, connecting your, especially in social science, I'm talking about, connecting your research study with theory, the existing theory is imperative, because in research, it cannot be a standalone fact finding. You cannot just stand one day and say that, okay, I did a survey and I found this. That is a good way of speaking about it. But how about correlating it to the studies which were done earlier? So it's very important. That's why whenever I take my first session with my research scholars or take any FTP for research paper writing, my first focus, and I would advise here too, in spite of the fact that we are talking about research proposals, but when we talk about literature review, please ensure that you connect your study to the existing theory. And when you connect to the existing theory, you connect to the existing studies, please do not forget to refer the seminal papers in your area of study. So these seminal papers are those papers which are prevalent in your field. They are highly cited papers, and they can form not exactly, you might not form a base of them in your study. You can also use the findings of others, authors who have done similar studies. Well, I'll just share an example with you. For example, I'm doing a study on women capacity building of women entrepreneurs in my ICSSR sponsored research project. So under this, we did a qualitative study where we took interviews of 16 women entrepreneurs. We did the analysis in vivo, and now we have finalized the first draft of the paper. So when I talk about the motivations and challenges which these women have faced, it cannot be a standalone study. It cannot be a standalone finding. I found very good papers, highly cited papers from 2018 and 2019, which have done similar study. I read them. And when I presented my findings, I correlated my findings. And when you correlate, you say that your findings support such and such, or your findings are different from such and such findings. That is the only thing when we talk about, when we say theoretical linkages. So whenever I talk about theoretical linkages, people think that it is a very heavy term, that you have to link it to a very big theory in the literature. Okay, theories are also there. For example, in the field of entrepreneurship, please do not mind giving me examples from the field of entrepreneurship, because that's my core area. And definitely these theories are on my tips because I keep on reading about them, researching them throughout. So definitely when we talk about the other areas, marketing, HR, business analytics, operations, there are various theories, and you have to have a knowledge about all these theories. So in entrepreneurship currently, institutional theory is moving at a fast pace. So institutional theory says that there are two types of institutions, formal and informal institutions. So whenever I do a study, if I'm able to link my study with those theoretical terms, it automatically increases the efficacy, the level of that study. The quality of that study is automatically increased. Otherwise, most of the times, without theoretical linkages, the papers will go for test rejection, especially in a Scopus in-text journal. Okay. So coming back to the technical parts of writing a research proposals, these are the first few points which you have to take care of at the outset. That is before you embark to write the research proposal. First is know your audience, that to for whom you're writing the research proposal. If it is an industrial organization, they're looking for a commercial benefit. Because sometimes for consultancies, for getting consultancies from industries, people, academicians do write research proposals. So there you have to talk about how your research is going to profit them or benefit them in the long term. But if you're writing for government funding agencies like AICT, ICSSR, or DST, then definitely you have to highlight that how your study is going to yield benefits for the society and how you intend to propose recommendations for an for an identified problem which is seemingly a wicked problem. Now the use of the term wicked problem. What is a wicked problem? So there are two types of problems which exist around us. One set of the problems are linear problems. They're very straightforward problems. For example, if I talk about MCQs, I'll give you one question and I'll give you four options, A, B, C, D. And just, for example, what is the capital of India? There are three options, New Delhi, Mumbai, Indore. So there is just one straightforward answer, which is New Delhi. So you just mark A. So this is a linear problem, mathematical problems, problems using plain formulas, and most of the problems are linear problems. But in life, in society, most of the problems we see around us are wicked problems. They are non-linear problems. They do not have a single solution, and sometimes they seem to be tricky and non-solvable. And if you are able to identify any such problem and you offer to propose a solution for that problem based on your study, that can also add a lot of grace value to your research proposal. So you have to know your audience first. Describe your research proposal in non-technical terms. Please do not use any technical language. Use very simple yet very good English and avoid any jargons. I highly recommend the use of various softwares which have come up. The Grammarly option is there. So Grammarly base package is available for free. But I also recommend that if you can manage or maybe request your institution, you should also try and take the advanced versions of Grammarly, because that I have seen is very, very helpful in removing a lot of grammatical errors, which we keep on doing, comma, full stop. It also rephrases few sentences for us. And please do not mindlessly paraphrase the terms and terminologies, because most of the times they lose their meanings. Instead, sit with a pen and paper and try to put, because research proposals, they are not very lengthy. The word limit is very, very limited for each and every aspect. So when we come to the parts of it, I'll just explain you what are the significant components. But at the outset, I want to highlight this fact that the word length which they require is very, very less. They do not require paragraphs. So it always pays benefit to write in a very simple and straightforward language, which is coming directly from your expertise and is not a copied language. And make sure your proposal is free of typographic and grammatical errors. So I was also having a meeting with the ICT, and I was just informed that now everywhere they are also, first thing everybody is doing is putting the proposals in flat check. So please do not mindlessly copy from internet sources, because that will also lead to the first level rejection of your project. Even the summary and the project report, everything is going for plagiarism check. So plagiarism check, especially in Turnitin, is very important. And many times now they are also asking for plagiarism reports to be submitted when we submit the final reports, like we all do in thesis and everything. So those of you who have already done PhD or you are doing your PhDs, You must have already experienced that from the short synopsis stage to the long synopsis stage to the thesis, everywhere we talk about plagiarism. Even self-plagiarism is, self-citing, self-using your own work in those kind of things. It's not allowed any longer. So please visit the UGC guidelines, the COPE guidelines, the Committee of Ethics, and there it is clearly highlighted many points. Please be mindful of these points because everywhere it is being kept tapped. So remember that at every level, adjudication committees are multidisciplinary and will include researchers in the field other than your own. So under the new education policy also, we are talking a lot about being multidisciplinary. So this definitely multidisciplinary aspect has to be taken care of to improve the catchiness of your project report. So if you can actually make it multidisciplinary, then it will be a very good thing to do. And follow the KIS principle, which is keep it simple. So reviewers like it this way. And the multidisciplinary aspect I have already talked about. Now, how to start it? What should be the starting point of your, just a second. What should be the starting point of your research project? So the start has to be very, very catchy because we do not want them to read the first few sentences and just lose interest and keep it on the side. Because majority of the proposals are going these days for blind review. And even you don't know, even the council does not know. Even I have been invited for review. So I can tell you from my own practical experience, because I have actually sat on the panel and reviewed the research proposals. So this point I am telling you from my own personal experience, the title has to be very, very catchy, meaningful, state of the art, and it has to summarize what you intend to do. And the first few lines of your proposal, where you are introducing what you are trying to do, they have to be very interesting. So treat those words as very precious, very valuable, that word count, and make the utmost use of it. And that, I'm telling you again and again, friends, will come only when you give months and months to make it, to refine it, to re-refine it. Sometimes I have ended up creating 10 to 15 versions of my paper or my proposals. Because one day I sit on it, I do some work, because we reach a kind of level of a brain fog when we continuously pursue a research topic, a paper, or anything. And at a point of time, it becomes so fed up that you're like, I cannot work on it any longer. That's the point when you bring in collaborators. And that's the point you also get up and get some fresh air. Just leave it there. Take a break. Take a break of 1 day, 2 days. Just leave it there at the point where you feel that you are saturated. Then come back to it after a period of 2 days with fresh creative thoughts. And sometimes, the eureka moments also come to you, even when you're not even thinking about it. You're just sitting idly somewhere, doing some housework, sipping a coffee, or even sitting outside in a park, taking a walk. And that eureka moment comes to you when you think that, okay, this is the idea which is, the best idea. So those kind of flexibility you have to keep while creating a paper, a study, or a proposal. Just don't stick to a mundane fixed routine that, okay, I have to finish it in this and this, and okay, I have done my part, now I'll read the rest. And then what happens? It goes for test rejection. So please ensure that you create an impact in the first few sentences. You make it easy for them to understand and to develop sufficient interest that they should start thinking, okay, this study deserves money. This study deserves that we give funds to that person to solve this particular problems, because this is a burning problem. This is widespread, that is everywhere. So that is very important. Organize your proposal so that it is tight, well integrated, makes a point, focuses on a central question. And you should have a clear hypothesis or research objective. And you should also highlight an important problem to be solved. This factor we have highlighted earlier. So choosing research topics. Hot burning areas which demand empirical investigation Put aside your mindset of a research paper and then choose a topic for the research study, because research paper does not warrant funds. Those studies, majority of the times, we just load Google Forms. We sit and write the paper, and we do the study, and we present the outcomes in the form of a research paper. So please ensure that you drastically differentiate between the topics when you choose a research paper and then when you choose a research proposal topic. So in literature, it may not be an under-researched area, maybe the topic which you're trying to identify, but in your specific country, in the country, for example, in your region, maybe if you're living in South India, maybe those kind of studies have not been done in the South Indian context, then you can say clearly that in literature, so many scholars have studied this topic, and you can actually quote the scholars, but in South of India, this study has not been conducted, or very few scholars, and then you can name them that only A and B have done this study. And we also want to do it because obviously a fact becomes a theory when it is validated again and again. So if it is an under-researched area, then well and good, then it's already justified. But even if it is not an under-researched area, but not sufficient studies in your region, then definitely you can do it from your own perspective. For example, in my women entrepreneur study, in my current paper, I have given the rationale that most of the studies studying motivation and challenges of women entrepreneurs have been done from the South India, or have been done from a patriarchal context, because India is still considered a lot patriarchal society. But my study, the context is absolutely different. I have taken Delhi, which is a cosmopolitan, and none study, I'm marking again, none study is there in literature which has been done in the context of women entrepreneurs from metropolitan city in India. So that there you have won the jackpot, because there your study becomes very, very unique. And this aspect, to reach this level of uniqueness, took me 6 months. Because this paper I've been writing since 6 months. So the framework was ready, everything was ready, but I was not convinced myself of the rationale that how do I justify, why do I want to do the study? Because so many people have already studied it. So sometimes you just have to keep on digging, revisiting, and reviving the paper. So format of a research proposal, under which we have title of the study, abstract, research method introduction, literature review, rationale, objective of the study, research methodology, expected outcomes, implications, and contribution to knowledge. So these format, I'm sure majority of you are clearly aware of, because since you're already eminent academicians and research scholars, you have already created proposals. For example, for PhD also, you have to create a proposal which is called the short synopsis, in which you present that what is the plan you want to do. So this format of a research proposal, it's not rocket science. It's absolutely something which we all are totally comfortable with. The contents of the proposal, there's nothing extraordinary in them. They are all similar contents of the kind of reports or the kind of studies we all have been doing. Even in MBA, in other programs, and the students also write now these days dissertations, the summer internship projects. So even the students, the college-going students, they are using these kind of formats to write their own reports. So this is not a very typical thing. It is a very sacrosanct format which is followed everywhere. But now, how to take care of each and every component? Let's see it. Because we are not trying to write something which you want to get published. We are trying to write here something on which you want funding. So the title of the study should be very strong and catchy. It should encompass the objectives of the study, and which should seem relevant. And mind you, they should seem to be need of the hour. So we are talking about pandemic situation everywhere. So any call for proposals and you highlight the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic implications, obviously becomes very, very relevant. So this is a very obvious example, but then there are many other examples, especially, in social science, if you talk about problems faced by startups, even the financial literacy part. So yes, one more important thing which you can also take care is that you also can see where the government is currently focusing on under its policy making initiatives. So I see a lot of news coming where they're trying to introduce lots of induce, actually not introduce, they're trying to induce financial literacy and financial inclusion of even the lower strata of the population. So targeting these areas, doing a survey where you actually catch the perspective of these stratas on how much of them are literate and what is their viewpoint on being, and how much of them are using internet, how much of them are digi savvy, because we are also talking about digitech and many new things and upcoming things which are coming. So it's very important that we also see the focus of the government on the policy making where they are trying to increase, because when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, definitely we talk about generating self-employment, where we want more job creators and we want less job seekers. So, under that ambit, lots of things come. So I'm very apologetic that most of my examples are from social science because I belong to that stream, but science people definitely, they can identify their own areas, their own fortes, where, the challenges are on the rise. For example, the rising pollution levels in Delhi NCR in those particular times of the year, in the winter seasons. And there are many, many, many areas, the water pollution and where the ST keeps on sending call for proposals, where even I just saw a call for proposal. In fact, the last day is to submit application today, obviously, which we didn't plan to because I'm not from a science background. That is the call for proposal for instituting a cell in your institution which actually imparts knowledge about climate change. So these kind of initiatives are being taken by the funding agency. So depending upon your area of expertise, obviously you can pre-plan. So it is important that the title of the project is understandable to the general public, reflects the goal of the study, and it attracts interest. How to write an abstract? It's not that you are all not aware of. Abstract is the highlight of your work. It should be not more than 100 words. Because now these days, it's no longer required that you submit a hard copy of your proposals. The majority of the proposals are being submitted online, where your institution gives you the login ID and you log it into the portal of that agency. For example, we have our AICT portal login ID and password. When I go there, I put my faculty ID, and then in the drop down, the list of proposal comes from which are active right now. For example, the grant for conference proposal is there, where you have to where you can apply for organizing an international grant, but then there are limits to which you can put it. For example, for grant for conference, they say that you can apply for only one conference in 1 year. So these kind of things you have to see. Then they have the research promotion scheme. Then they give grants for organizing MODROPs. They give grants for organizing STTPs, which are the short-term training programs. And they give grants for organizing FDPs, which are the faculty development programs. In ICSSR also, they give grants for conducting research methodology workshops, organizing conferences. In fact, they also give grant if you want to visit some country. Right now, I don't think that window must be open, but otherwise, you can also apply if you want to attend some international conference, which is going to be held outside India. But at the same time, please do your own set of research because, for example, AICT has a specific list of conference which is available on the website, and you can apply only if you are going into any of that conference. No other conference is eligible for receiving the grant money. And also they have a maximum limit to which you can apply. In fact, they also have conferences where you can apply to go to participate in a conference within India. For example, Pan IIM conference I saw the other day in the list. So wherever it is going to be, you can apply, and they will bear all your traveling expenses, lodging expenses. There is a maximum limit, and each and every detail is given in that document. There is a 3-page or 4-page document where every detail, every minute detail is given, the do's and don'ts. And most of the times I have seen that people easily ignore the sacrosanct details and choose to ignore those important lines, and this just end up wasting a lot of time, because everything which is being put there has a meaning and cannot be taken for granted. Okay, I'll submit it and we will see what happens next. Nothing like that happens. It goes for test rejection. So please ensure that you follow each and every instruction very, very properly about the do's and don'ts, and pre-check the eligibility criteria, whether you are eligible to apply or not. And in fact, you can also write a mail to them if you have some queries, and they also reply in a very prompt manner if you face any issue or any problem. But yes, the dates are also sacrosanct. They do not consider any proposal which is received after the date. In fact, the portal closes. It stops accepting any fresh application. And also no amount of follow-up is required, because once you have submitted your application, they will automatically process it. And whatever the response of that application, it will be generated to you. It also shows the status. The portal also shows the status, whether the proposal is in review, whether the proposal is being accepted, or even if it is rejected, because if the academic year is over and if you have not received any intimation, that clearly means that the proposal was not considered. One important point I want to share here is that, which actually comes out of a discussion from one of the government officials only, that I was just asking them that why is it that people do not, or institutions do not get grants? He just gave me a very simple answer, that I have seen that people and institutions, they are very, very miser in putting applications. So I was a little surprised, and he explained it to me. You should be very, very open in, putting up applications. So if an institution or a university puts up 15 to 20 applications for a call for proposals, there is a fair chance that 1 or 2 get selected. But most of the times, people think that it's technically difficult, we will not get it, and they do not even put up applications. So when only 2 applications or 3 applications are received from a university, definitely the probability of receiving higher number of grant on higher number of applications goes down. So the moral of the story here is that please be liberal, very liberal in applying. In fact, your first or second application, you can actually, treat them as learning points, because only when as in interviews, they say the only way to prepare for interviews is to face interviews. Because in interview, you don't know what they're going to ask you. Every interview is a surprise. But then by facing those interviews, we are able to develop a protocol for ourselves that, okay, this should be my body language, the do's and don'ts we learn for ourselves. I should not be overconfident. I should not sound underconfident. So we just, practice it by giving interviews, even if an interview entails rejection, but it actually gives a lot of learning, and I am sure you all will agree to it. So similarly, for the research proposal writing also, it's not about acceptance or rejection. It is a practice. So 1 proposal, 2 proposals, you actually start to practice. Once you practice it, then you will start becoming an expert. Then you will gain a knack on how to express yourself in the best possible capacity. But that does not mean that you do not believe that you're going to get grant on your first project. When you do it, you put it, have faith in it, be positive, and do it with absolute faith. Okay, that whatever I'm doing is the best, and I'm doing it for a benefit. And please do not try to attach any commercial benefits, because there are no commercial benefits in these kind of funding opportunities. But yes, in the form of evolving as a researcher, in the form of learning, the form of making up your profile, Yes. So indirectly, it is going to definitely yield commercial benefits, because obviously when your profile gets enriched, you will get better salaries, better promotions, but directly there are no commercial benefits. There is not even an honorarium for the PI. So when I am doing a project, I am not getting anything in my hand. Only I am paying my research associate and research assistant. So my associate, she gets a salary of 25,000. My assistant, because she's a non-PhD, she gets a salary of 20,000. But the PI does not. The PI means the principal investigator. So they do not have any salaries. So please do not attach any commercial benefits with these kind of research projects. They are just done for the upliftment, but trust me, they are absolutely, absolutely enriching, because you are so well facilitated. Just imagining having two people to work for you to do the research part, the output obviously and automatically will increase, because the work which you were supposed to do yourself is now divided by three. You can take their help, you can take their assistance in each and everything. You can hire a field investigator, you can send people out for survey, because that's the purpose for which the funding is given. And to my experience, I have seen that they give sufficient funds to meet all the expenses. You can buy laptops, you can buy your equipments, you can buy printers, softwares, and journals, books, and you can even buy packages. For example, I talked about Grammarly. You can take research assistants. You can hire people to, collect data for you, or even you can pay to the hiring agencies. You can keep full-time associate. You can keep part-time associates. So there are various fields and heads under which they give you the grant money. But yes, obviously, you have to stick to that maximum budget they have given you. For example, if they give you 1 lakh for purchasing equipments, you cannot even go a rupee beyond that, because then that will not be reimbursed. So they give specific limits, but I have experienced that those limits are more than enough to meet the expenses and to bring best quality in your research. So it is actually a luxury, because we keep on striving to write papers, we keep on striving to get ourselves published in top journals, to get better API. So what better way? Because you are you're getting money to do research, you can have a very fantastic study, and output of that study you can easily publish in top quality journals, acknowledging the support of the funding agency which has given you the funding, because that's actually something which you owe to them, because you have to do the branding also. So under the introduction, you introduce the topic, you give background and context, you outline the problem statement and research questions. So these are the components of introduction which you already have gone through. Some important questions to guide your introduction include: does it interest the funding body who has made the call for proposals? How much is already known about the problem? What is missing from current knowledge? What new insights your research will contribute? Why is this research worth doing? And if your proposal is very long, you can include separate sections with more detailed information on all these contexts. But as I've highlighted earlier, these days it's online proposals and they give you a word limit: 150 words, 250 words, 350 words. So once you have seen the word limit, please draft your proposal under that word limit in the most effective way possible. And for that, I'm again repeating, you'll have to revisit your draft, and please also get it vetted from an expert in your area. And you should always also go for co-investigators, because that's a very good way of actually carrying forward the research work. So these co-investigators can be a similar institutions, they can also be from the different institutions, but the principal investigator institutions gets the grant money, and from there you have to spend the money. But yes, both of you can work equally on the project. So that becomes a win-win situation. So in literature review, something which I've already highlighted earlier, Most importantly, please highlight the main theories, the methods, debates, and controversies. So the key word here is highlight the main theories, the seminal papers. Be critical. What Be critical of the work which has already been done. Just don't write that such and such did such and such work. Also express your opinion on that work, and then align your research objective. It comes like a beautiful story. Like you first highlighted that such and such gave such and such finding. In your context, you see that such thing might happen, and in the end, your study with your study, you intend to answer this question or you intend to fill the gap. Rationale is very, very important. That is one section I have seen these days in all the online proposals which I have been submitting. So UGC also launched a STRIDE scheme, which was a very ambitious scheme, and unfortunately, because of the unprecedented pandemic situation, the scheme is no longer, I think they're not giving any grants, because as much as I've inquired, I've always received that response that currently the review process is halted. But these kind of ambitious scheme, because under the new education policy, if we see that we are intending to make India a global platform of education, because at the times of Nalanda, at the time of Takshila, we had our USP of the Gurukul system, and we were actually a country where we were following the liberal arts system, because we were focusing on the holistic development of the students and not just focusing on the academia part, but all-round development, all-round personality development. And that is the basic keyword on liberal education, where they talk about multidisciplinary education. So why multidisciplinary? Because if you are an engineering student, it does not mean that you study subjects only related to engineering. If you have an interest, learn history, learn geography, learn camera, learn photography. So these kind of multidisciplinary options are there, which are an integral component of the new education policy. And possibly that's why now the graduation will become of 4 years under the liberal education. So when we identify the rationale, when we identify the need for the study, we have to see. So this example of NAP I just gave you as a state-of-the-art example to identify that these are the happenings which are going to be there in the economy, in the society, because we are trying to go local but think global. So a very strong justification of the need of the study, that these things are happening. So that is why my study connects with such and such component which is existing right now in the societal framework. So if you're able to identify and the rationale and connect your study to that, you have won it, because this is a very, very key component where you justify why you want to do what you want to do. Objectives of the study, research questions. So in the methodology, as in any other methodology part, you have to highlight what will be the research design, whether you'll be doing a qualitative study or a quantitative study. Will you collect original data, or will you work with primary or secondary resources? What will be your population size? Exactly what or who will you study? How will you select the subject or the sources? Example, random sampling, case studies, when and where will you collect the data? What tools and procedures will you use in that study? For example, interviews, surveys, observations, and practicalities is very important. When you actually write the proposal, you have to divide it into component, that for chapter 1, you will need such and such time. For the introduction, maybe you can write that first part would be total literature review, because obviously you will start with literature review. And if it is a survey-based project, you will have to create a scale. So first 6 months, you can absolutely ease out and take for creating a scale. So that will all obviously entail writing the introduction and literature review part. Once you have formulated the scale, which is the questionnaire, then you will go for a pilot study. So you can say that you will do the pilot study in the next 2-3 months. Then you'll do the reliability and the validity test of the scale. And then based on that, you will start collecting the data. So you can keep another 6 months for collecting the data. And the final 6 months, if it's a 2-year project, you can keep for report writing, interpretation, and report writing. And in the meantime, you can add under all phases that you will please always highlight that it will be your top priority to get the research work published in the top quality journals, because this is a very big tangible outcome which is expected out of you. So might as well write it and word it in your proposal itself. Instead of them asking you to do it, you just propose to do it. That will create a very, very good impact. Expected outcomes of the research proposals. How will it, maybe you end up creating a theory or a model. Obviously, when it is a social science project or any other socially relevant project or government related project, you have to make policy recommendations, or if it is a scientific problem you're trying to solve, you have to offer solutions to that problem which you identified in your research proposal. The research papers and presentation of the research work would be made at various seminars, conferences, and forums. How the granting body will benefit from your study and how it will benefit to the society. So most of the times, these sections are identified separately on the online platform, and you just have to fill it. And again, I'm repeating, the word limit is very, very less. The range is between 150 to 350 words, different for different kind of segments. So please be very, very mindful and say the maximum in the least amount of words. What will be the implications? Again, policy implications, strengthening a theory or a model, challenging popular or scientific assumptions, and creating a basis for further research. And bibliography, it's very important, as I've highlighted earlier, that you cite the relevant seminal papers in the study, because bibliography is a list of the sources which you use in your projects. So please also ensure that you follow the proper format. If it is not even predefined APA, Chicago, or Harvard, then maybe you can go for APA, which is the standard format. But make sure that you follow a standard format, and each and every reference has in-text citation. Every in-text citation has a reference, and the proper formatting is being taken care of using et al. For more than 2 authors. There are many other things which you have to take care of. Yes, most of the times I have seen that people just blindly copy the references from the Google Scholar, which I think it is the absolutely wrong practice. No doubt it is a very convenient mode for us to just copy the citations from Google Scholar, but majority of the times they are incomplete, or they are sometimes also wrong. For example, 3 authors are there, they'll capture only 2 authors. Yesterday only I was just studying a report of census which was conducted in 2011. So the name is, suppose, Mr. Chakravarti. I just don't remember his name exactly. It was started with C only, Chakravarti, and his designation was there as deputy general. So the APA picked up as Chakravarti and general. So these kind of mistakes are very common in Google Scholar. So please, and most of the times, I'll highlight it here, especially from the point of research papers. Most of the times, the page numbers are missing in the references in Google Scholar. So you just have to click on the paper, go there, and get the page number from there. I'm also a guest editor for many journals. I've been in meetings with many editors, and they have confessed that sometimes these things irritate them so much that they reject the paper on the desk because of these clerical errors, because they presume and assume that if the researcher cannot take care of such petty and small components, how can they, believe in the quality of the particular paper. So in the last, I would like to again highlight that get feedback and edit it, get the proposal reviewed and commented on by others, get it vetted, revisit it, create your own versions. For example, this particular research proposal on which I got a grant, I created it around, when I put it, before that, it was created by me 1 year. It took me, like I had created it 1 year back. And for like this FTP, we are all attending. So I was also attending an offline FTP in an institution at New Delhi. And the FTP was entirely on SPSS. But at the end, I took my proposal idea to the resource person because he's an eminent name in the academia. And I just asked him for a few minutes and just shared my idea with him. And he gave me 1 or 2 keywords, which proved to be very precious for my proposal because my proposal was very good. He appreciated it, but he also asked me to add few words in the title, which would actually, make it good, better. So I included them and that helped me a lot. So any addition, any verification you can get at this stage, please get it. So that will prove to be very beneficial. Most importantly, you also have to take care that they will not only see the research proposal, but they will also check your credentials. Now, your credentials should match with the area of your study. For example, I teach entrepreneurship, I research in entrepreneurship, and one fine day, I put up a project on studying human psychology. What is my expertise? How much do I know about human psychology? Have I done a course? Am I a person from the HR area? Do I know anything about NLP? Do I know anything about those psychometric tools? Nothing, because that's not my area of expertise. Just because suddenly I thought that this is a very interesting topic, I decided to write a proposal. It does not function this way. First thing is your research topic, which actually emerges out of your PhD research area, because more often than not, we all have seen that we pursue the areas or topics which we have undertaken during our PhD. So in research, we should not dilute ourselves. We should not try to do a lot of things, but rather focus on few niche areas which actually become your specialization and where you can excel. And if it actually directly relates to the kind of courses you are taking, many times we have seen that practically the kind of researches we do and the kind of components we teach in the classes, they do not match. But sometimes they do match, so that becomes a bonus situation, but that's not so important. But your resume, your credentials should validate that you have ventured a lot already into that area and given an opportunity and given the funds to do a particular study, you have every caliber to take this study in an effective and efficient manner based on your experience. So please do not select any research area out of the blue. So yesterday, my friend who's from another management college in Gurgaon, she approached me. She wants to put up a proposal for instituting a climate change cell in their institution. So I just told her outright, please consider whether you're eligible or not. What's your expertise? You are teaching HR in classes, and here you want to submit a proposal to GST for climate change. Does not match, does not make sense at all. So do not waste your time, energy, and efforts into venturing into too many areas and diluting yourself. Be specific, focus on your niche area, and become a specialist and become a master of your area. So that people quote you, people call you for expert lectures in your specific area. So you have a strong background, and you should have, they'll also check your work experience, how many years of experience. And unfortunately, I'll just share one fact with you that most of the time they also see that you should be at the level of associate professor or professor. And non-PhDs are, I think, not considered for these kind of research projects. So you should have a PhD degree. And as you grow up in the hierarchy and the designation, the chances of getting a higher amount of funded project gets these chances increase. So associate professors and professors, even for the reviews, they call only the associate professors and the professors. That's I'm not saying it is sacrosanct, but I'm just talking it in a form that it is followed generally, because that actually automatically reflects your experience levels, that you are an experienced researcher. Workshops, seminars, or conferences which you have attended in the chosen research field, and obviously your academic credentials. So just a second, how do I? Before we move on to the next segment, okay, I'll just stop sharing. Then I think I'll go to the main screen. Yes. So that's about writing the research report. That would be a very small section of the presentation. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take at this stage related to whatever we have understood about research proposal writing. And in the online context, it becomes very difficult because I cannot see you all. It becomes a monologue. I even don't know we are on the same page or not. So and a little bit of interaction at this stage will also help me to understand where we are reaching with this presentation.
Is there any question you can ask to Meghna ma'am? Participants? Yeah, Umed. Yeah.
No, sorry, sir. By mistake, I unmute.
I think, ma'am, you have cleared each and everything.
I have cleared everything, or maybe they have not understood anything. I don't know.
No, they. I don't know. They are. If they can feel shy also.
Yeah, it happens, sir. I can understand.
Yeah.
So, dear participants, I would be very happy to answer any question which you have at this stage.
Any question you can ask? You can drop the message in chat box also. If you.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah, this is Seema Chaudhary. I want to ask one question regarding the research proposal. Is it compulsory to mention the hypothesis in the research proposal?
No, ma'am, not at all. Hypothesis is not at all required in the research proposal. They just want your broad objectives.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was the confusion. Thank you so much.
Yeah, broad objectives and your research questions, if you can highlight, but most of the time, the word limit even does not allow for research questions. So your broad objectives of the study are more than enough.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, Vandana ji, thank you. So you are saying that it's cleared. So any kind of very informative session. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And any other point anybody wants to highlight? If you cannot ask directly, maybe you can put in the chat.
Participants, you have time to ask any questions related to research proposal. If you have any query regarding research proposal, research project, you can ask to Meghna ma'am. I think, ma'am, thank you so much. They have, all the participants are also in the chat box messages, very informative. They all are happy. They have understood each and everything.
I would also be happy if to solve any problems, any issues. If they want, my email ID is there in the PPT, so you can also share it with them, and they can always reach out in case they have any other query.
They have put one or two questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Dr. Ravi, I have a question here.
Ji, sir, please.
My question to you is that as far as the budget part is concerned,
Ji, Anil ji.
so what items should be included in the budget part, and what about the estimates? While because you know that if the estimates are not realistic, fundamental estimate, then the researchers will be in difficulty. If the estimates are higher, then again there will be a problem. So, like, what items should be included in the budget part? Perhaps there might be some column, and while submitting the proposal, there might be certain guidelines of UGC or AICT or other. So, what do you think that are the guidelines same, or there are differences in that? And secondly, once the proposal is sent, then perhaps particularly the UGC, they invite you for some oral kind of interaction. So while going to UGC to get your proposal approved after this oral interaction, what guidelines you would like to give the participants so that they can get through their proposal clear?
Thank you, Anilji. Very relevant, very interesting, and thank you for this very useful question. So as far as your first question is concerned, the guidelines for budget are clearly given when they give the call for proposals, because they do not want you to, erratically ask for any funds under any head. So they will clearly, specify that, for example, you are asking for 1 lakh rupees. This is just for a simplicity's sake, so that we are able to fix percentages. So they will clearly specify that only you can apply for maximum 40% of the project money for field work. So automatically I will write only 40,000 for field work. Then they specify the breakup also, that these are the maximum limits for which you can apply under various heads. And as I've highlighted earlier, these heads are staff, field survey for field work, for equipments, and for contingency. So the maximum limits are specified for them. And one more tip which I would like to give at this stage, which is very, which will be very, very useful. Always ask for more money than what you need. Because, somewhere in India, we have a tendency to give less than somebody asks for. So in my project, I asked for 16 lakh rupees. So I got 10 lakh rupees. So it makes me think, it makes me wonder that if I asked for 10 lakh rupees, probably I would have got 6 lakhs. So you can also inflate a little bit of estimates. That won't, create a problem, because they're ultimately going to give you what they want to give you. But this is a very relevant question, sir. Thank you so much. So there are the maximum. They specify the heads under which you can ask, and automatically the maximum limits are also there. In fact, the AICT portal, the funds, those limits come up automatically under that 25 lakh rupees.
Dr. Ravi, if you permit me for one more question, then I would.
And sir, I just, I'm yet to answer your second part, that.
Yeah, and
preparing for
one more question, madam. Yes, first please respond, and then I'll be asking you one more question.
No problem, sir. So coming to the point where you said that what kind of preparation you need to do for oral presentation, that's again a very relevant question, because if your proposal gets shortlisted, they will ask you to make a detailed research proposal. So I was asked to create a detailed research proposal of 5,000 words. And there it is again very, very important, sir, to keep a quality check. So the part components would be exactly the same which I have highlighted, but there I have put in 150 or 350 words. Here I'll be elaborating it to make it it's like a short synopsis, PhD short synopsis which we create. But for the oral presentation, you have to be prepared with this most important answer, that why you deserve money for this kind of study. You should be able to justify that in your oral presentation. So a balance between not being overconfident, not being underconfident, because I have seen that people in their overconfidence, they spoil their interviews. You also give them a space to speak. They are the experts. They also want to share their insights with you. So sometimes I have seen that overzealous people, they speak a lot, that they do not give them space to speak. Be a good listener, speak your part, but when an expert is talking to you, don't argue with him and don't try to justify your point. Say, sir, okay, that is a very enriching point. I will include in my study. Thank you so much. So, that kind of flexibility, if you show, that will be very, very beneficial. I hope that helps. This tip helps because this has helped me a lot.
Yeah, wonderful answer. Excellent. The second question, not exactly the question, and I admit that it may not be relevant with the topic. What you have discussed is absolutely relating to the writing of research proposals. I would like to share my experience because since you have submitted your proposal to these agencies and still one of your major project is going on of rupees 10 lakhs, I would like to share my experience with these funding agencies. Two of my research scholars who have rather submitted their postdoctoral work, and both of them have got the project approved by the ICSSR.
Yes, yes.
Now the problem is that these agencies create lot of hurdles and problems when the actual disbursement comes. Permit me that it's not related with your topic, but here the experience is that they create lot of problems in spite of furnishing all the details, all the receipts. They are not disbursing the money. I don't know why. What's the problem? It takes a lot of time, rather a gap of almost 1 year. The researcher has no option but to submit their proposal. And I have heard, it's not my experience, that there are a lot of unethical practices on the part of UGC also when the question of disbursement comes. So there are two problems. One is that these agencies take a lot of time in disbursement of money, and secondly, some unethical practices also. So don't you think that researchers should prepare themselves mentally also, that if there is a time gaps also, or if they take a lot of time, then they should be prepared for that self-sustaining that project, that even if they don't get the fund, then they should be able to sustain. That's my observation, not exactly the question, but what is your experience you can share with?
Yeah, definitely, sir. Definitely,
share
sir.
your experience with the participant.
No. It's
what
okay,
I'm saying
sir.
is correct, or what your experience is different, right?
Yeah. Each one, as they say, sir, in various contexts, each one on it for its own. So I am glad that you found this platform suitable to share your experience, because we need to vent out our problems also.
Yeah.
But at the same time, since you have invited me to share my experience, I will just share my experience with you. When I applied for my ICSSR project, it went into blind review. I did not know anybody in that. I automatically got a call for presentation. I presented it. And, during that presentation, I was made to believe and made to feel, because it went very well for me, fortunately. And they gave me a sufficient amount of faith. They showed a sufficient amount of faith in me that they will actually give me money. They just asked me to reduce my sample size. That's my first experience. So it was entirely a transparent process for me. And secondly,
just a minute, ma'am. I'm not talking at that level. When
disbursement also, sir, the funds disbursement also.
And clearing of your bills, but later in the later part of what I'm saying.
Yeah, we got it, sir. We got it. We got it, the installments in a timely manner. Okay. They take all the calls. They reply to all the emails. So the Impress team, which I am dealing with, sir, and we have a WhatsApp group where 20-25 of the PIs are there. We all have replied responses to these emails. And fortunately, my experience has been totally different.
From ICSL also?
Yes. From all DST, ICT, ICSSR, sir, everywhere, lot of support.
Then you are lucky, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They solve queries, they give instant replies, they are so empathetic. We invited them also. For example, AICTI conducted the FDP. I invited them to conduct session on NEP, and they readily came and gave us time. And in fact, they talked about many schemes which they are launching. So fortunately, sir. So I think it is not a universal phenomenon, and things have gone good. So maybe there is a glitch, sir, which you need to identify and sort it out, because sometimes, there is a glitch in our own work, paperwork, maybe something you need to furnish, which, because they have lots of paperwork and documentation, because it's not their fault, because they are also working on behalf of Ministry of Education, and it becomes their responsibility also. That's what I've come to believe. So might as well follow everything sacrosanct. That's why I always highlight, to prevent any current or future problems, follow everything sacrosanct. Whatever instructions.
Shubhendu ji.
Good afternoon, madam. I have a
Good
question.
afternoon.
When a fund is allotted or sanctioned the grant, then not is allotted as per my breakup of the cost or expenditure. Suppose laptop field survey purpose 40,000 or laptop purpose 50,000. Not in this way they allot this fund. They allotted only two heads. Number one, recurring head, and number two, non-recurring head. Then
Yes.
how can we divide my requisition or my demand into these heads? Suppose just a few minutes ago you have told that 40% of total allotment I can expense or I can bear for the field survey. Then in which fund, recurring or non-recurring, this will be included? If you explain it clearly.
Yes, sir, absolutely, absolutely. Because I'm aware of this terminology. So you have received funding, I gather, from AICTE, right? So, Bindu, sir?
UGC.
UGC. Okay. So because
UGC.
Okay. So for
UGC.
under AI, okay, got it, sir, got it. For AICTE also, when I put my project under RPS, they have these two heads, recurring and non-recurring. So, sir, the non-recurring part is the permanent component. So you are expected to buy your laptop equipments under the non-recurring part. That is a one-time, expense which you want to do at the beginning of the project, or maybe, within first 6 months. So might as well buy all your equipments, laptop, printers, softwares, everything under the non-recurring part. Now the recurring part is because, you will keep on incurring that expense on a month-by-month basis. Because fieldwork, obviously, you will not do at one go. You'll do in 1 month, and second month, and 3 months, and sometimes fieldwork continues for 1 full year. So your fieldwork will go in under some non-recurring expense, which you have to keep on incurring and keep on claiming as per the norms. I hope it's clear, sir. Non-recurring is the one-time fixed expense.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, Linga Reddy ji, please, you can ask.
Yeah, very good evening, madam.
Very good evening, sir.
Very crystal clear presentation regard to MRPs and research proposals. My submission is that, madam, after completion of 12th plan, UGC is not offering any minor or major research projects nowadays. Will you please inform us the other platforms or funding agencies which is providing this research apart from ICSSR and UGC?
Sir, are you from a government institution?
Yeah, madam, I'm working as assistant professor of commerce from Telangana.
Yeah, government institution. Government institution.
Yes, madam, I have submitted 2 minor projects also from UGC.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. It has been a while now that UGC has stopped giving grants under this thing, major and minor research project schemes. But if you will go to the UGC portal, sir, you will see that they are giving grants for faculty research also, which is the startup grant and mid research grant and the expert research grant. For that, there are various criteria. So if you are at assistant professor level, so for uplifting your research, they will give you grant, and these schemes are very popular, sir. And many people I know are receiving money under these grants. So it's not necessary, sir, that we always target major and minor research projects. Why not work towards getting individual faculty grants also? So these faculty grants are there, sir, which will help you because they will ask you to submit a research proposal. Under that also you have to submit a research proposal, but that research proposal will be only to, uplift your own individual research levels. And for that, they have some specific eligibility criteria. For example, for the mid-level grant, they have the biggest criteria they ask is that how many PhD scholars have you guided? So if you are at assistant professor level and have not guided any PhD research scholars under you till now, you can definitely, sir, apply for the startup grant, and they are readily giving it to many people. And besides that, sir, ICSSR is giving, under ICSSR also, please keep track of inter-country collaborative offers, Indo-Japan, Indo-South Africa. There are many. If in case you have a collaborator who's from outside India, then you have Department of Science Technology, and then you have AICTE. Then there is Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, IICA, which keeps on sending call for proposals. Then we have Ministry of Skill Education and Entrepreneurship. You can go to the portal and check for a few projects which they want to launch. So if I come to know of any other government agencies, then obviously I will maybe pass on to Ravi Modi ji, and he can forward further in the group if you have any WhatsApp group. And besides that, the private organizations give very less funding for these kind of projects.
Thank you.
Madam. Thank you very much, madam.
Most welcome, sir.
Is there any other questions? Participants, there are some questions in the chat box, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll just see. Madam, how can we learn the knack to do scientific writing? Very nice question. See, scientific writing is when, as a scientist, you are trying to say something to another scientist. So obviously, it cannot be in the form of any other English writing which we follow. So the best way to develop a knack towards scientific writing is to understand these, components which are highly required. Yesterday, you must have had a session on research paper. So sir must have told you about the integral components of a top quality paper. So one integral component of a top quality paper, which I find amiss in a lot of, today only I received 4 review invitations from InterScience. And unfortunately, three of the papers lacked the component of theoretical and practical implication. When you are doing a study, why are you not talking about what will be the benefit of your study? Just do not give the end to the study by writing the findings. Please connect it very importantly with the theoretical implication. So theoretical implication, I think I have talked a lot about because of my own personal experience, because this is something which everybody is looking for now, and also practical implications. So when you give a finding of your study, conclusion of the study, after that, please do not refrain from adding that part, theoretical and practical implication. So theoretical implication makes it a scientific paper. It makes it a connected paper to theory. It does not become a standalone independent writing, and a standalone independent writing would not be considered for any kind of evaluation. So I hope that answers your question. And okay, thank you so much for all the good things you're writing. And
Venugopal ji, you have raised hand. Please ask.
Namaste, madam.
Namaste, sir.
Yeah, my question is, in general, there is a declining or a pessimistic approach towards social sciences funding when compared to pure sciences.
So that's it, sir. Question is over?
Yeah.
So very rightly you have put up this point. Social science funding, I have actually, you won't believe it. I have sat in ICSSR, I've talked to the head and talked about this thing, that why are you giving so less money to researchers in social science? And why are the, science like DST, physics, chemistry, maths, everywhere you are giving so much of money? So I got an answer from the, horse's mouth. So I'm directly telling you that definitely the amount of fundings which we have received till now, the amount of projects which they have launched, they are going to be on the rise. So there are lots of plans. So Ministry of Education, Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship, and various works which they want to do with the startup segment also. So there are going to be various schemes where they will be requiring think tank people like us to contribute. So might as well start gearing up and start creating proposals which are relevant. And then we can keep on putting into these schemes as they come. So Impress also, first scheme came. And after that, when the pandemic did hit, many of the plans went down the drain because they could not launch the second component. Although the interviews and everything was over, because 2 of my colleagues from my institute, they had gone for interviews, and till date, their results are not declared because of this pandemic problem which we are facing since such a long time. But definitely, sir, it's something to be hopeful for. In social science, we will see a lot of funding which will come because, as I told you, sir, UGC also, if you just Google the STRIDE scheme, I also did put an application, a very ambitious application under the STRIDE scheme. It has been put on hold only because of this pandemic. So it clearly reveals that they have plans to, increase the fundings in social science also. Very soon we will see good opportunities. But yes, we have to make the best of what we have, sir. Whatever we have to make the best of it.
Also, one more point, madam. When it comes to revenue generation, humanities and commerce and management generate lion's share.
Yeah, very true.
But when it comes to spending, we don't get.
You mean to say the salary levels which we are getting?
Anything you talk about, any parameter you take, madam, very pathetic, very sad to say, the situations in the society. Unless there is a behavioral changes and thought process changes and very honest appeal to the human beings, to that, unless we change the implementation, that is the common sense has to be kept aside, and then rules and regulations and paper should be brought in practice.
Yes, sir. So this is actually not a question, a very pertinent point of view which you are sharing, and
yes,
which
sir.
I absolutely respect and appreciate that you have shared it here, because that's a fact. The only thing I think can be an answer again is that we can only expect people to respect the social scientists more and more capacity when we ourselves increase our research impact. Because I see a lot of research papers getting published in SCI, in the engineering, in the science fields. So might as well, if we start publishing and if we are able to increase the impact factor of the researchers, social science researchers of India at a global level, we become highly cited researchers, we increase the number of papers, our papers become prevalent in literature. Because how many social scientists you see in Indian context who are very, very popular, or they have given some kind of seminal papers? They are very few, very few. But if you see in the science field, there have been immense contributors. So yes, this issue is there, this aspect is definitely there, and I accept it. But at the same time, I always see at a microscopic level where we can contribute. So definitely, if we all together strive towards creating high impact research, we can escalate the respect levels also, which we all get. Because if it becomes a consolidated pool of research, then definitely a social scientist will also be considered, and it will be, and in government organizations and everywhere I've seen the scales are similar for faculties from all streams, and in fact in most of the institutions also. So hoping for things to improve, sir.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meghna.
Sir, I too want to say one thing.
Ji, Aarti ji.
If allowed, yeah. Ma'am,
Yeah,
actually, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such an insightful session. It is actually not actually a question which is related to this topic directly, but ma'am, I just wanted to share an incident which took place few months back with me. Ma'am, I found a Scopus Index journal. I do not remember the name exactly, but I found one journal related to social sciences, and I thought I'll contribute my paper there. And I had sent my paper there, and few correspondence also took place, some emailing also took place. And then, ma'am, how challenging it is to get the paper published in a, A grade journal, because writing is difficult, but I think publishing is even more difficult. So I did everything. They had a long procedure, and I took whole 2 days to complete the procedure. Here you have to enclose your abstract, here you have to enclose your everything. everything I did. And ma'am, at the end, when it was about to be submitted, when I came to the last part of that submission and that paper had to be submitted, there was one point which was written, where it was written that which is your funding agency. So I did not have any, because I did not have any like a minor or major project, or any funding agency was not giving me any, so I did not fill it. And when I clicked on submit button, it was not accepting it. It said that we cannot accept, this is a mandatory field, and without this we cannot accept it. So I was wondering, ma'am, is it so that some of the A-grade journals have quota for or they just allow the papers who are actually
No, Miss Aarti, and not absolutely. It is not compulsory. If you are submitting on Scholar One, you must be submitting it on Scholar One. No? It is a common portal for these journals.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
It gave you a message that you have not clicked it, because you just have to click that you have not received any funding and written accept your this thing. There is just a mistake and error, a very clerical error you are doing at the point of, because that field is mandatory. Whether yes or no, that field is mandatory. You have to give an answer. So you just write no. Nowhere in the world there is a journal which ever says that funding is compulsory and we do not require. So there is a clerical error. You just go through it again, and I'm sure you'll be able to submit it.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. I thought there are certain journals who are accepting only the papers from the researchers who are getting some funding. So
No, not at all. I have submitted maybe in hundreds of journals, and I'm on the editorial board of few. So don't worry. Under Scholar One or any other journal, it is not compulsory. You
even
just
the emerald ones, even
yeah.
the
Nowhere. Nowhere. Nothing is compulsory. It does not matter to them whether your funding study is funded or not. Why will they bother? It's just that when you say that it is funded, they will just, mention
ask
it
that from where you're right.
That's it. It is not in their personal interest, and they are only interested in your paper and with whom you have collaborated. A very big tip at this point also I would like to give, that please try and collaborate with top names in your research field. That actually helps a lot.
Right.
Because sometimes it happens that you take your paper to them and they give you a fresh dimension, fresh perspective to it. And these foreign authors, especially, I've seen they're very humble, they're very congenial, and they reply back. So why not take your studies out? And don't try to keep everything in my head. Koi aapka research, nobody is going to take it from you. So try to share it with as many people. In foreign countries, that's the best part I have seen. Every paper they have 5, 6, 7 authors. And we try to, keep it to myself.
Keep it with ourselves. Yes, ma'am. This is the problem I have noticed in India, that there is no knowledge sharing. Because even at the micro level also in colleges, I have seen, if somebody has got some knowledge, nobody is ready to share it, because they think, it will be stolen or something like that. But in foreign countries, it is like...
Never mind, Aarti. We can start. If you... See, trust me. You believe in law of karma, law of nature. What you give, what you receive. We all know it. Start giving.
Yes, ma'am.
If you are sharing your knowledge, if you're sharing your expertise, if I have acquired some tips, if I am on this platform, I feel happy to share it. So I am going to receive it from somewhere. So don't worry. From your end, just start doing it. You'll receive more and more.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Thank you so much for being
so
positive.
All the best for your paper. I'm sure it's going to get good response.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Anytime.
So, Ravi sir, shall I go for the formal vote of thanks, or is there any other participant asking question?
Any other questions, participants? Thank you, Dr. Meghna ma'am, for beautifully answer to every participant. And thank
you, Ravi Modi ji, Senior Modi ji, and Aarti ji for such well coordination of the session. And thank you for the opportunity. It has been a wonderful platform for me. Sir.
Thanks to you for such an insightful session, ma'am. And now I would like to invite Dr. Aarti ma'am, Joint Secretary Inspire Research Association, to give formal vote of thanks. Dr. Aarti ma'am.
Thank you, Ravi sir. I feel honored and privileged to propose a formal vote of thanks for our today's resource person, Dr. Meghna Chhabra ma'am, who has clarified the concept, the theory, requirements, applications, and all the key elements related to the topic, which is extremely relevant and useful for all the researchers, that is writing up of research proposals, research projects, and research reports. Ma'am, you have explained all the do's and don'ts of how to prepare a research proposal. You have explained about various funding agencies and their parameters, benchmarks, and requirements to accept the proposal. And at the same time, how beautifully you have given the tips that how a researcher can improve the chance of getting their proposal.
Ma'am, you are muted, ma'am. Aarti ma'am, you are muted. Aarti ma'am, you are muted. Please unmute, please unmute. Hello.
Hello, sir. Was I muted?
You are, yeah. You are muted.
Okay. Actually, I got some call. I'm so sorry. I'm using it from mobile, so I got a call. That's why. So I'll just repeat what I said, ma'am. Ma'am explained all the theory, application, and key elements of the topic so wonderfully. And ma'am, you have explained all the do's and don'ts of how to prepare a research proposal, and the parameters and benchmarks, the expectations of the agencies to accept the proposal. And at the same time, so beautifully you have given the tips also, like how a researcher can improve the chance of getting their proposal accepted. Getting the research proposal accepted can be extremely exciting, but at the same time, it is very, very challenging, because there are so many aspects like relevance of the topic, efficacy and practicality of the topic, then which is the funding agency, what are the expectations of funding agencies, what is the area and scope of your research, etc., and so on. But Dr. Meghna has helped us understand these aspects in a very simplified and a beautiful way, and getting these understanding the challenges are also as important as knowing what to do, because when we know the challenges, we'll be able to face them and we'll be able to solve them. So I'm sure now if we send a research proposal, it would be much more easier and we would feel much more confident after this session now. So really, I'm thankful on behalf of Inspira Research Association and Sheila Raheja Business Institute. I wish to thank you from the bottom of my heart, ma'am. Thank you so much for such an informative and insightful session. And we hope that in future also we'll be able to listen you more in detail also about all the agencies. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for such a big thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. From the same platform, I would like to thank Professor Anil Mehta, sir. He's the strongest pillar of, for all of us, for the whole team, he's the strongest pillar, as if, the father or the head of the family standing always with the family in all ups and downs, all thicks and thins. So Professor Anil Mehta is always there for supporting us. Thank you so much, sir. I'm thankful to Captain Dr. Ravikant Modi, sir. He is very efficient in managing everything, in organizing everything, and he has been doing it wonderfully. And then the man behind the show, I would like to thank Professor S.S. Modi, sir. He's the man behind the whole show, how he arranges everything, how he invites all the experts to enlighten us. Thank you so much, Professor Modi, sir. And at last, and the most important part is thanking the participants who have been patiently listening and trying to, they're so keen, they're so inquisitive, they are learning, every day they are learning, and every day they are participating with such zeal and enthusiasm. Thank you so much to each one of you. Thank you.
Dr. Aarti, can we have a group photo session also?
Yes, sir.
For the records of the Inspira.
Already
Dr. Meghna Chabra, so we can have a record also and memories also, so we can have a photo session. And I request everyone to open your videos.
Participants, please open your videos. And thank you so much, Dr. Meghna ma'am, once again.
Ji Ravi sir, thank you for such a big thank you. And I like the name Inspira so much. It's all already bringing lots of inspiration.
Thanks for sparing your valuable time, ma'am. And I would like to thanks once again to all the participants who are being with us all the days. And tomorrow is the last day of this event on the topic Review of Literature, Effective Citations and Referencing by the eminent resource person, Professor Dr. Manvinder Singh Pava from Manipal University, Jaipur. And in the valedictory tomorrow, we will announce our next event, regarding our next event in the month of August. So I would request all the participants to join tomorrow's event. So thank you once again, all of you. Thank you, Anil Mehta sir. Thank you, Aarti ma'am. Thank you, Meghna ma'am. Thanks to all.
Thank you so much.